Welcome to Money Secrets with Bill and Mike.
I'm Bill Alexander.
And I'm Mike Tove. Bill, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I'm really excited because we're talking about a subject that is so important to everyone, and that's Social Security.
Yeah. And you know, one of the things that I get a lot of people think is that Social Security is about to go out of business, it's going to be gone, and I try to assure them that that's probably not the case, but...
Well, no question about that. Well, we have a wonderful guest with us today, Warren Coble.
Right.
And Warren, I've known Warren for a number of years, and he's my go-to person to get any answer as it relates to Social Security. I refer more folks to Warren Coble than any other referral that I have in my office, and so I'm delighted that he's with us today. Because Social Security is one of those things that involves a lot of money for most people, and it's one where people just make mistakes.
Oh my God, and you know, and it's not just about when to take it, but it's about the tax implications of it, and just certain assumptions. I mean, people... I have a colleague that says that the biggest planning mistake people make is assuming that their life expectancy is based on a dead relative. and you know, when it comes to Social Security, the income stream is permanent. And
well, there's no question about it, and there are a lot of penalties that come with Social Security as well if you make the wrong selection.
Absolutely. So, any event, well, let's take a short break. And we'll come back and we'll talk to Warren.
Great.
Welcome back. So, Bill, let's introduce Warren and let's get right to it.
Warren Coble, delighted that you're with us this morning. You're truly the Social Security expert. What's the biggest mistake that folks make when considering when to take their Social Security or how to take it?
I think the biggest mistake, Bill, is failing to consider all of the available options. Most folks think, oh, 62, 66, what other options are there? And failing to consider the factors that can influence which option you choose.
What are those factors?
Yeah. Number one is income. What do you need as far as income? Number two, what's your lifestyle going to be like in retirement? You're going to need more income later on in retirement often than you do immediately upon retirement. And verifying, you know, your debt load, making sure that you can handle retirement. Then number two is the health insurance piece of the puzzle. So many people think, well, I'm going to retire at 62, I'll go on Medicare. That's a no-brainer that Medicare is not available until 65. And so all of a sudden they go out into the marketplace to buy insurance and find out they're going to pay $700 to $900 per month, and then they're like, oh, I can't afford that. And failing to consider those options, those factors, again, personal physical health. Some folks, you know they're not going to have a long lifespan because they have certain diseases or conditions that are going to limit that lifespan. In those cases, early retirement is fine. And then finally, the time to do other things.
But of course, people live much longer today than they used to.
Absolutely, yes.
And they not just live longer, but they live longer in good health in many cases. And then, of course, with modern medicine always advancing, that it takes it beyond and beyond and beyond.
Correct. And so, consequently, if people are living longer, I hear folks say, oh, I'll never live long enough to get my investment back. And that's not necessarily true. The break-even point generally is 12 years. Whether you start at 62, whether you start at 66, by the time you've gained 12 years beyond age 66, you're going to be even. Then it's gravy money, so to speak, for the rest of your life.
You know, one of the things that I run into with a lot of clients is that they come to me, they're looking to retire around 65, 66, maybe 67. They want to start their Social Security right away, and I say, look, all you have to do is just get through the next 3 or 4 years. Start your Social Security at 70, you're getting an 8% per year increase, plus the cost of living adjustment. And they're going to, most of them have large IRAs or 401ks. They're going to start required minimum distributions. Those two things in combination carries them forward. All they have to do is find a short bridge from the point of retirement to 70.
Right.
How often do you see people screw up and start Social Security too early and then regret it later?
Probably 40 to 50% of the time.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
I see the same thing in my practice. In fact, what I have told clients for many years that there is a huge mistake in taking Social Security at age 62, which is an age any of us who otherwise qualify for Social Security can take it. But there are penalties involved, big penalties where you could actually lose hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime by making wrong selections.
For individuals born 1954 and earlier, it's a 25% cut at 62. 1955 and later, it's a 30% cut. That's almost 1/3 of your potential income is cut, and that's just not a good way to go. Plus, if you have other income, you're going to pay income taxes on the money. So if you're in a 25% tax bracket, you're getting a 25 to 30% cut from age, and then you get a 25% cut from income taxes. You're down to 50%.
Right, which
Well, the
seems
other
mighty
one-
silly.
The other one that I've run into is people will say this. They'll say, well, I'm going to start my Social Security and then I'm going to work part-time.
Okay.
Well, that's
know
where
where
the
I'm going.
penalty comes. That's where the
I know where
penalty
you're
comes
going,
in.
Mike. And that's the issue, is because a lot of folks do not understand that there are restrictive penalties from Social Security if you exceed certain limits. For 2017, that limit is $16,920. And if you work beyond that, you're going to owe back 50% of what you make over. So you're still not gaining by working over because you're paying all those taxes on that money, that's $16,920, and then you're going to pay Social Security back $1 for every two.
Now, that's if you take your Social Security before 66,
Correct.
which is full retirement age for at least my age group.
Or 67
Up through
if you're younger.
1954.
If you're a little younger. But
Right.
what I have said for many years is the fact there's only two reasons for taking Social Security at age 62 or younger for widows, and that is that they are either in very bad health and their life expectancy is clearly short, or that they actually need the money. In other words, they can't eat unless
a difference.
unless they have some money from Social Security, and it's sad, but over 50% of our retirees are living exclusively off of their Social Security income, which is a pretty sad state of affairs. But making sure the election is correct so that they at least maximize what they get on Social Security seems to me to be so important. And Warren, I know I just mentioned widows, so can you tell us how marriage and being a widow or a widower affects our Social Security?
Sure. Widows and widowers and divorcees may have options that other individuals who are not widowed or widowed don't have. A widow or widower can file as early as age 60 instead of 62. They can file as early as age 50 if they're disabled. And relative to the divorce situation, if a couple were married 10 years or more, then each of them are potentially eligible on the other. And if that ex-spouse dies, that opens up an avenue for surviving divorced spouse benefits. And folks fail to consider those or know that those options are out there.
Well, and I've even seen where people get very bad advice from Social Security, I directly from the Social Security Administration. I had a widow who had income from a pension. So she didn't need the money, but because she was a widow, the Social Security Administration was saying, take your Social Security at 60, take it at 60. And I was saying, no, don't do that, because there's a huge penalty. In fact, there's even a bigger penalty if you take it at 60.
Right, it's a 30% penalty now on individuals who are born 1954 and earlier, on widows.
Well, once
Absolutely.
she saw, and this was one that I sent to you and you were able to tell her, but once she saw the difference, she clearly stayed away from Social Security, knowing that she could get it when she's 66.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a little break because I have a couple of other questions I want to come back and wrap up with. And we're back. Warren, one of the things that we were talking about before the break was divorce, but
Yes.
isn't there a time restriction on that you can't just be married and then divorced 2 days later and
That's right, Mike. It does require 10 years, and that is literally from date of marriage to date of divorce. I've worked with clients who had 9 years, 11 months, and 26 days, and they get denied, and they're like, but it was 10 years. And I'm like, you were 4
Not
days
quite.
short, not quite. But with a 10-year marriage, then subsequently divorced spouses are potentially eligible on that ex-spouse,
Now-
and especially when that spouse dies.
Now, Warren, what happens if you remarry after a divorce you've been married for more than 10 years
Right.
and you remarry?
It depends on when you remarry. So I tell folks, if you remarry after the age of 60, the door is still open to move backwards to that prior spouse. If you remarry before age 60, you are barred until that current marriage is terminated.
Okay.
So I encourage people to, if you've got 9 years plus under the belt, hang on to it, get you 10 years, and then if you find another Mr. or Ms. Right or whoever Mr. or Ms. Right might be, wait until after age 60 to remarry, because it leaves that benefit door open.
Great. Now, how about the number of years it takes to qualify, and how do we maximize our Social Security based on our working years?
That's another mistake that a lot of folks make, Bill, is not putting in the full 35 years. The benefits are based on an average earnings of 35 years. Once you get your 35 years in, you're just sort of putting gravy on top a little bit, or the icing on the cake. But not having the 35 years results in Social Security averaging in 0 years. And of course, mathematically, anytime you average zeros into a computation, you are lowering the entire computation. And so if you've got someone who, for example, can retire at 55, they're going to have 7 zeros averaged into that computation.
Well, anyone who's ever received an F in school knows what that does to your grade point average.
Well, the other concern that I have, you raised that, the other concern that I have is retiring early and then losing access to disability benefits under Social Security.
That's another common mistake that folks make. And we encourage folks when they retire early, as I mentioned, someone at 52, 55, you lose your disability credits after 5 years of not working and paying into the system. So we encourage people to go find you a part-time job, make $5,000, $6,000 a year, keep all of your credits current. Now, you never lose a retirement credit. They're always there. If you've worked 10 years, you're going to get a retirement check. Now, it may not be certainly as good as it would be if you worked 35, but 10 years gets you a retirement check. But for disability, you have to have that current work connection.
Warren, I know that the laws have changed about filing and suspending and taking and I know that married folks have options that single people do not. Can you explain how those rules work so we can, as a married couple, we can maximize our combined Social Security?
Have you got an hour?
That'll be another show.
Another show, okay. But it's called restricting to spousal benefits only. It is available for individuals who were born before January the 2nd, 1954. The law changed in November of this past year, November of 2015 actually, and came into effect May 1st, 2016. Individuals born January 2nd, 1954 and later cannot exercise those options. They are restricted to their own benefit. But if you have someone who's attained full retirement age, which right now is 66, then they are allowed to restrict to a spousal benefit only, which is 1/2 of the spouse's primary amount at 66. That enables the worker, the spouse who's restricted, to save their own benefit until age 70 and get a 32% bump up.
Right.
Wow,
Which
that's
is major.
huge.
You know, that just comes back around to something we said earlier, and people don't think this through, is that going from your full retirement age to your maximum retirement age, you are getting an 8% guaranteed increase.
Plus COLAs.
Plus COLA.
Now, this year's COLA is only 0.3%.
Well, okay, but even-
we've had years where they've been 12, 14,
Sure,
15%.
but show me anywhere where anybody's going to get a guaranteed 8% return on
it's not
real
available.
money. No.
Well, Warren, does it help us to wait past age 70? To
Oh,
draw-
absolutely not. No, sir.
That's a point, but what's
Yeah.
the difference between taking my Social Security at age 66, full retirement age for me, or waiting till 70? What's the difference? Why should I wait?
Generally, and again, all cases have to be looked at from a case-specific standpoint. And looking at the personal factors, as you mentioned earlier, are you going to be able to eat if you don't have the Social Security money? That's a number one factor, okay? But number two is, and we talked about basing, your plan on a dead relative. Well, believe it or not, that is something that has to be looked at because family longevity certainly comes into play. And if you come from a family where everyone in the family has died by the time they're 70, I don't think you want to wait until 70 to draw your Social Security. Conversely, if everybody in your family, all your aunts, uncles, parents, grandparents live to be 95, I think you're crazy to take it at 66 and not wait until 70 because you've got a 20-year span there from age 70.
Well, the other thing that I counsel folks, and they don't realize this, is that no matter how much Social Security you get, at the very worst, 15% of it is not taxed as income.
That's correct. There is a break in there for everybody.
So the more Social Security you have as income, the more of that income is not subject to tax. It simply reduces the amount that goes out. It puts that money back in your pocket, no matter what else you do.
And that's about 1/3 of folks, Mike, pay taxes on their Social Security benefits.
Well, the thing that I really wanted to accomplish this morning was the fact that Social Security is pretty complicated. People think it's easy. Oh, well, I'll just take it at 62 or 63 or 65, 66 or 70. They know that much, but they don't know all of the elections. They don't know how all of this can affect their family or whether the children can receive benefits or the spouse or disability, or even special needs children, how it affects them.
Correct.
And this is why it's so important for folks to get good advice before they go down to the Social Security office and make their election.
So let's take one more break, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap all of this one up with a little ribbon, and we'll see you back in just a minute. Welcome back. Warren, help us wrap all of this up. If somebody wanted to get advice on Social Security, where do they go? Social Security Administration?
There are several options. Number one, you can go to the Social Security Administration offices. They are spread all over the country. Be prepared to wait. Their staff has been cut back. They're pushed. They're harried. You can go to their website. And I will point out that the GAO, the General Accounting Office of the government, published a study back in September that over 50% of individuals either were given incorrect information or did not get complete information about making their decision, especially relative to waiting on the benefits. And so therefore many people do claim based on, it's not misinformation, but it's not the best information. And so, be careful also looking around on the web. There's a lot of good information out there, but there's also a lot of outdated information out there. And our office is available to help individuals make these choices and decisions with effective counseling that we do from our counselors.
Warren, so if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and ask you questions, you're available. How do they do that? Okay,
we have a website, warrencoble.com, WARRENCOBLE.com. And also, our phone number is 336-879-0848. And we do have 3 retirement consultants on staff. I've been training my son and my daughter. They joined me years ago because folks told me,
Legacy planning.
Oh, yes, sir, legacy planning. Folks said, Warren, what happens to us who want information if you're not available? So we made a plan to pass this along. The kids are still looking for the USB port up here. They haven't found it yet, but we've been working really hard on getting them up, fully up to speed.
And the name of your company is?
Warren Coble and Associates, Inc.
And you can help most people by telephone.
Oh, yes. We are now working, we've now gone nationwide. We've got clients in Pennsylvania, Texas, California, Utah, Colorado, Oklahoma. I mean, you name it, just about we've got a client out of there.
Well, you're my number one referral.
Thank you, Bill, and we are appreciative. I will tell you we are.
Thank you. So we will be back in just a few and finish up. So, Bill, this was a really fun subject.
Well,
Because-
to me, it gets right down to the money secret,
Yeah.
which is Social Security is not all that easy. It is complex. There is so much money involved in making
Yeah.
the right election. I mean, we're talking $100,000 plus over your lifetime in terms of making the right election.
That's
So
right.
it is key to get good advice on Social Security before you make those elections.
Boy, we sure sound like we keep repeating this one, don't we?
It-
But it's true.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So the secret is you've got to go to somebody who can give you comprehensive advice. And the truth is that even if there was some magical person at the Social Security Administration who could help you, good luck getting them today and getting them a year from now. And
Well, and the other thing is it's not just about you, it's about your spouse,
Right.
it's about your children at times. It affects your entire family.
Okay. So, I'm Mike Tove. I have a financial services firm, AIN Services, at www.ain-services.com. You can be reached at 800-363-2296.
And I'm Bill Alexander at WG Alexander and Associates. We're attorneys that focus on estate planning, elder law, and asset protection. Please join me on my radio show on WPTF on Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock for Asset Protection Today.
And we will see you next week. Thank you for watching.